to share the platform with everybody here. We've done a few meetings in the past, and it's always lovely to be at Labour Party conference. I just want to welcome, I think there seems to be a number of people wearing, perhaps not bollocks to Brexit badges, but there's a few here, so I'm very pleased that they're willing to come and listen, and perhaps we'll go away being convinced that they're wrong. I also want to say that, following on from what Paul said about a radical programme for a Labour government, isn't it a pity that we aren't spending time at this conference, given we are leaving the EU in less than 6 months' time, actually talking about what kind of country we want after we leave, the kind of policies we want, how we will get some of the things that were in the manifesto actually implemented. Instead of that, we're spending our time in a kind of almost rearguard action against those people who just want us to stay in the EU and are prepared to do anything at all to try and get that. We've seen it in Parliament, the slowing up, the lots of amendments, the hundreds of amendments, ridiculous amendments put to the referendum bill, put to even any way possible to hold things up. And I think it's a real shame. But I have to say that I think we on the Leave side took our eyes off the ball when the referendum result happened. I mean, I actually thought we were going to win, and I'm on Daily Politics on the Monday, 3 days before the election, before the referendum, when asked with the two political correspondents of the New Statesman and the Spectator, both of whom were asked, do you think what will happen on Thursday? And they both said, one more reluctantly than other, and you can guess which one, said, oh no, we're going to vote, the country will be voting to remain. And I interrupted and said, you're wrong, we're going to leave, and your problem is you don't get out of London enough. And I think that is absolutely true. So we took our eyes off the ball, we won the referendum, and we're Democrats, and we thought, great, now we leave. Now, the Lisbon Treaty, of course, which we didn't get a vote on, made it extremely difficult to leave. All of the Lisbon Treaty, a lot of it was about how difficult it is to leave the EU. So a lot of people voted thinking almost that we voted to leave, we're leaving. And of course we've had this 2 years, the whole Article 50 process, all the negotiations, and it has given those people who are the anti-democrats, allowed them time to first of all garner money, mostly coming from abroad, and have been able to organise campaigns, organise this so-called People's Vote campaign. And I think that we have to take some responsibility for the fact that we only relatively recently, in the last 6 months or so, have actually wakened up to the fact that we are going to start campaigning again to actually get what people campaigned for and won 2 years ago. And I did a rally. I've been criticised, of course, for doing a rally, an all-party group, under the auspices of Leave Means Leave on Saturday in Bolton. And I can tell you that there were nearly 2,000 people there. All of them, most of them there, would have been ex-Labour voters, probably UKIP, a lot of UKIP, but no banners, coming in and to support us because they want to see this referendum result actually honoured. And those people coming up again afterwards, as they did during the referendum, were, so many of them were solid, decent Labour voters, ex-Labour voters, who just feel betrayed. They went out and they voted, and they were being told from everyone, from the Prime Minister down, your vote matters, we will honour it. And now they're feeling this negativity all the time from all the media, including the BBC, Sky, all of them. They all wanting to push the negative thing. Everything bad is because of Brexit, and everything good is despite Brexit. And they are getting that all the time, and yet they have not changed their views. They have not changed their views. But I would say, just as Graham and I think Paul both said, the electoral suicide that Labour would face if we were to have supported a second referendum, because those people are so angry that they feel they are going to be, if they're going to be let down. So I'm very pleased that we've got this wonderful Labour Party fudge for tomorrow, which has not moved our party on in any real change of our policy, and we will not get, and I'm absolutely delighted that John McDonnell said, as I always thought he would, that there cannot be a second referendum. That would not be on any ballot paper, even if there was some kind of vote, which I do not think there will be. So I think we have to now actually recognise that we have we have to continue that kind of almost campaigning that we had during the referendum, within Labour. You know, you look at the other aspect, which is the European Union have always been used to countries having second referendums. They did it on all of, you look at all the treaties, the accession treaty in 1972, no referendum. The Single Market Act, no referendum. Maastricht, signed by the Tories in 92, no referendum. Amsterdam, no referendum. Nice, signed by Labour, no referendum. Lisbon, signed by Labour, no referendum. And when there were referendums in other countries and they voted against, the EU simply sat back, did a little bit of twitching around, talked to the establishment in those countries, got another referendum and managed in some way to get that through. They thought we would do the same. They really did. I'm absolutely certain that they thought, with the connivance of those people who I sometimes think are more loyal to the EU than they are to their own country in our parliament, actually thought that they would get a second referendum. They underestimated absolutely completely the resolve of the British people, and we will not be bullied. And one of the things that happened last week with the way which, you know, and I'm no supporter of the Prime Minister, as probably very few people in this room would be, but I have to say the way that she was treated last week was, yes, it was bad for her, but it was actually a complete and utter disgrace, because it was really a question of trying to bully our country. It was our country and our citizens who are being disrespected, not just the Prime Minister. So I'm pleased that there are many people, and I do absolutely agree, we must not assume that everyone who voted Remain has somehow has not accepted the result. I meet Remainers all the time. I had a constituency with a very, very high turnout for Remain. And I meet my constituents all the time, many of them who will genuinely say to me, look, we voted Remain, we're a pity we're leaving, but let's get on with it. And I've met some people today, some young people, actually from Cambridge, one of them who has been an organiser of the Cambridge Remain campaign, who has now changed his mind and accepted that we should be leaving and we need to leave properly. So I think we should, go away from this conference with our morale quite high. I'm quite optimistic now that we will get a proper Brexit. I think if we can get a free trade deal, brilliant. If we can't, then as far as I'm concerned, no deal is not a problem. No deal, no problem. There is absolutely nothing that our country can't overcome. So I would say to everybody here who's in the Labour Party, do challenge your own MP, because it was a United Kingdom vote. Didn't matter what happened in your constituency, in your borough, it was a United Kingdom vote to leave. Challenge your own MP as to what they are going to do to make sure that we do what we said in the manifesto, to honour that manifesto. And I think we just have to challenge all the time the doommongers in the media and the way in which everything is so negative. And then I think we have to challenge to make sure that we give support to those within the shadow cabinet who are fundamentally in favour of actually leaving now, and leaving in a way that is going to give us the benefit of a Labour government that can carry out the wishes of people, and particularly what we've had in our manifesto. And I'm afraid to say that the people in Parliament now on my side, of Labour side, who are most against Brexit and are doing their utmost to stop it, are actually people who are using it as an excuse also to get at Jeremy. And that is the reality, that the people who are most against Brexit and are doing this in Parliament are actually anti-Jeremy, and they see this as a way of getting at Jeremy Corbyn as well in Parliament. So all I would say today is, let's go away, let's be optimistic, let's be confident. People voted, they knew what they were voting for, they're not stupid. And ironically, now those people in people's votes saying, oh well, we'll have to have a vote on the deal. And if any of you, as you all know about the EU, it's not likely to be a one-sentence deal. It'll probably be 200, 300 pages. And we really, those people who said people did not understand leave or remain and what to vote, and now we're saying, here's your 200 pages, now will you like to vote for that, leave or to honour the deal. Let's not be afraid of a no deal. Let's call it what it is. It's a different deal. it's going to be like the rest of the world, and it's time we stop thinking that the whole world is dependent and relies on the European Union. And we can do it, but Labour needs to keep the faith with the British people who voted to leave.